So we have looked at all of the different body systems now. As we've gone through the human body, our packet, we learned about all those various systems, the organs within them. So now it's time for us to look at what they actually look like. And so what we're going to do today is for each of these organs, I'm going to just review with you what it does, its function, and show you what it looks like in the frog. Okay? So,
It's a frog.
yeah, that is a frog.
Yeah, can we play that?
You guys know that frog?
No.
Michigan. Yeah. Kermit the Frog.
Michigan J
No, not
Frog.
Kermit.
It's Michigan.
Michigan J Frog.
He's from where?
Michigan.
Michigan?
You guys don't watch cartoons?
No.
He's from Warner Brothers cartoons.
Can we watch it?
I'll just show you real quick. Oh.
So Creed's caught him. Wait,
Hey,
do we
it's
make
China.
Can you make it a little bit bigger, maybe?
No, it's all right.
The frog.
He's not just a frog. He's a singing frog.
He burps. He's just like me.
Dances too.
Yeah, he's just like me. I sing like that too.
Make it bigger.
If you refuse me, honey, you lose me, then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, come on and tell me I'm your
Some frog, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's from old Warner Brothers cartoons. Anyway, so the liver. If you remember back when we talked about liver, we talked about the liver in terms of the digestive system because it makes bile, digestive enzyme that breaks down fats. When you look inside of the frog, the liver is going to be really easy to find because it's the largest organ in the frog's body. But it also has a circulatory function. It helps to filter the blood as well. So, when you open up your frog and you're looking at its internal organs, what you're going to see is this large brownish reddish organ. This probe is touching it. So it's the liver. And actually the liver has several lobes. In the frog it has 3 sections, 3 lobes. It's really big. It's right in the middle. It's going to be very, very easy to see. So that's what the liver looks like in the frog. Liver is, some people eat liver from a cow. Calf's liver is something people eat. And it's the same organ. Looks very similar in all animals. Our liver is also one of our largest organs. It's pretty big. The gallbladder. Who remembers what the gallbladder does? Bailey? Yeah, it stores the bile. So the liver makes the bile, sends it off to be stored in the gallbladder. Okay? Now, to find the gallbladder in the frog, you kind of got to look around for it because the gallbladder is located underneath the liver. You have to kind of use a probe to lift up one of the lobes of the liver, and hiding under there is a very small, maybe about the size of a pea, small little circular, like deflated pea. Now this one shown here is kind of reddish. The ones that we usually see in the frogs are kind of yellowish green. And it's just like if you took a pea, you squished out the inside of the pea and there's just the like shell left over, it looks just like that. But it's underneath the liver. There's a tube, you can't really see it in the frog very well, we won't have to look for it, but that carries that bile into the small intestine, and that's called the bile duct. We have that as well, a bile duct. The spleen. We just mentioned the spleen pretty briefly when we were talking about the circulatory system. Do you know what it does?
Oh, I know. Doesn't it like help with like the what's it called? Like the filtering out of the bacteria?
Yeah, it helps filter out, break down red blood cells, filter out bacteria from the blood. Yeah, that's the purpose of the spleen. And when you look inside of the frog, to find the spleen, you have to sort of lift up all the digestive organs, and under there is a little red ball. That's the spleen. It's right there.
Is this a frog you dissected?
No, I don't think so.
Smells like oranges.
All right, the esophagus. Now, it's not really, it's hard to find the esophagus. In a frog, it's much shorter than it is in a human. What does the esophagus do? What would you say? What's the function of the esophagus. Haley?
That's the mouth to the stomach.
Yeah, it connects the mouth to the stomach. When you swallow food, it travels through your esophagus into your stomach. Same with the frog. When the frog swallows its food, it goes through its esophagus into the stomach. But the esophagus is pretty short. If we look in the frog's mouth, the esophagus starts at the very back of the frog. And then it goes into the stomach if you look on the inside of the frog.
Is that like, how do you get the mouth?
Yeah, you have to snip the jaw here and here so you can open up its mouth. Stomach. It's the function of the stomach. Should all be able to answer this question. What does the stomach do? Rania?
It breaks down the food into common.
Yeah, it digests food. Stomach is easy to find in the frog. It's located, as it is on you, on the left side. If you lift up the liver, it's sort of shaped like a banana, this curved organ. That's the stomach. It's thick, it's muscular, it's pretty hard. Sometimes it might be swollen up. Sometimes it might be thin. If the frog had eaten like a big meal just prior to the time when it died, it may still have that food in the stomach. One of the parts of the lab is we cut the stomach out and look inside of it. Now, most of the time we don't find much. Sometimes you find little exoskeletons of insects. Although a few years ago, somebody found a big crayfish. The stomach was really swollen, and so when they took it out, you knew there was going to be something big in there, and it was a crayfish in the stomach. You could see the exoskeleton, you could see the whole thing.
Wait, if it's a grass frog, why is there a crayfish?
And that's what it ate, because they live around ponds and stuff.
Oh.
It's not that it eats grass. They eat small animals. Now the pancreas is sort of sometimes difficult to see. Its job is to secrete digestive enzymes, also to make what? Insulin. And when you look in the frog, it's tucked into the curve of the stomach. So here again is the stomach. And this area in here, tucked into the curve where the stomach becomes the small intestine, that's the pancreas. It's really small, and there's really not a whole lot to see there, but you can find it. Small intestine. What's a small intestine do? Sophia?
It carries, it breaks down the food from the stomach and then brings it to the large intestine.
Continues to digest food, and also something else. Ronnie?
Absorbs nutrients.
Yeah, it absorbs the nutrients from the food. Now, small intestine, is it called small intestine because it's short?
No, because it's
No, it's
skinny.
It's pretty long. In a human, it's 25 feet. It's skinny, though, but it is longer than the large intestine. When you look in the frog, basically, that's not it. Okay, so when you look in the frog, here is the stomach. This part up here is the small intestine. It's not really shown that well in this picture, but it travels and it winds around inside of the frog. And then if you look at the very end, if you look here, this is small intestine, and then what happens here?
It goes to the large intestine.
It all of a sudden gets wide. That's the large intestine. If you follow the small intestine, it's narrow, 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 and then all of a sudden it gets wider. That's where it becomes the large intestine. And that's where it absorbs water. It's pretty short in the frog compared to in a human, but it's still there. Cloaca. So this one has an asterisk next to it, which means it's one of the organs not found in a human. Okay? The cloaca it's sort of a general purpose body opening in the frog. And so urine, feces, if it's a female, eggs, if it's a male, sperm, all come out of this one opening called the cloaca. It's just a general purpose getting stuff out of the body. When you first open up your frog and look inside of it, all the organs are sort of held in place. They're not like loose. Like if you just cut open the skin and muscle of the frog and turn it upside down, the organs wouldn't like all spill out. They're held in there by this thin membrane that sort of keeps everything together and everything in place. That membrane is called the mesentery. And again, when you're looking at the organs, when you're kind of trying to move the intestine around, you're going to have to sort of break up this membrane. Otherwise, you can't stretch out the intestine. You can't look inside beyond the stomach. You'll have to separate that membrane because it's all kind of held together by that. The same is true in humans. Humans have that same membrane keeping all our organs sort of in place. The heart. So, obviously, what's the purpose of the heart? Yeah, to pump blood through the body. But how will a heart throb be different than the human heart? Brennan?
I don't know.
You did have your hand up temporarily, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
You just
Stretch, you know?
Lily?
It has 3 chambers, and not 4.
Yeah. A human heart, we know, has 4 chambers, right? 2 atrium, 2 ventricles. The frog, which is an amphibian, has a heart for pumping blood, but its heart has just 3 chambers. And so the heart and the frog you see here. And so now is a good time to mention humans and frogs have 2, we call them cavities in our body. So the upper cavity is called the thoracic cavity. It's up higher in your body. Sort of your rib cage separates your thoracic cavity. And it contains the heart and the lungs. The rest is called the abdominal cavity, below the rib cage. Okay? And so when you first cut open your frog, you'll probably be seeing these organs down here. You'll have opened up the abdominal cavity. To open up the thoracic cavity, where the heart is, you need to go up higher. You have to cut through the sternum, okay, to see that. This is the heart of a frog. And you can pretty clearly see here the 3 chambers. What are these 2 chambers?
The left and right atrium.
Yeah, these are the atria. And this one heart, the more muscular chamber down here, that's its ventricle. Okay, so blood comes into the heart, goes into the ventricle, then gets pumped out. Nearby, near the heart, are the lungs. Obviously, the lungs of a frog, what do they do?
Breathe.
Yeah, they allow it to get oxygen, get rid of carbon dioxide. When you find them in the frog, you need to, so this picture, the digestive organs have been removed. The liver has been removed to allow you to see things. So that's gone. The heart is up here. It's been removed. It would have been here. See over here?
Yeah.
Here it looks like 2 blackberries.
Yeah.
Those are the lungs. So when you have the frog, if you look on each side of the heart and you have to go towards the back of the frog, you sometimes can pull them out. They're these spongy things. Okay? And those are the lungs. Kidneys, what do?
Filter out the waste.
Get rid of waste from our body. Same thing in a frog. Okay? Kidneys are way in the back. So again, you have to either take out the digestive organs or push them to the side to see the kidneys because they're way towards the back of the frog. They're on each side of the spine. And so they're reddish in color, reddish brown. And there's one on each side of the spine. It's hard to see the difference between these two, but they're way back there. The urinary bladder is hard to see. It's way down here. But the kidneys connect to that bladder down here where the urine is stored. Now, some of you may have a male frog, some of you may get a female frog when we do this. Which is larger?
Female.
Yeah, remember when we looked at those plastic trays? Female is usually much larger, and there's a reason for that. Do you know why the female is often larger, Brendan?
Because they make babies.
Well, they don't really make babies.
Well, they like
What do they make that's related to babies?
eggs.
They make eggs. And how many eggs do frogs produce?
A lot.
A lot, hundreds, maybe almost 1,000 eggs. So to produce all those eggs, they have to have a larger body to hold them all until they're ready to be released. And so, if you get a larger frog, if you start opening it up and you see if body feels really hard, and you open it up and you see it's packed with all these little black dots, it's a female and it had eggs present. Okay. No, they're not showing this. I'll try and find a picture of a frog with eggs in it. If you don't have a female frog and you have a male frog, it will have testes, which produce what? Sperm or testosterone and testosterone. The testes are towards the back. They're near the kidneys. See, here are the kidneys. But the testes are way in the back. Here's one. Here's another. If yours is a female, probably has oviducts, which take the eggs from the ovaries to the cloaca so they can leave the body. And if the eggs are present, you'll see the eggs there in the oviduct and in the ovaries. They'll be all swollen. If not, you may not see them, but you may see them like this. So here we're not seeing eggs, but this tube, all this stuff looks like mashed potatoes.
What's disgusting?
Ew, please don't tell us that.
That is the, that's the oviduct. I don't know what those are.
Did the egg thingies explode or something?
No, they just weren't there. So if the eggs are in there, so this frog probably just had released the eggs. So the eggs weren't there, but the oviduct was there. So yeah, that's the oviduct. The sperm duct, obviously, what's its job? To what? Transport sperm from the testes to the cloaca, so that the male can release the sperm. It's a really, really thin tube, because it doesn't need to be huge like the oviduct, because sperm cells are really small. So, what are these?
The sperm ducts?
No, these are the testes. See this tiny little tube?
Yeah.
Or on this side, this tiny tube going down to the cloaca, those are the sperm ducts. It's duct, not duck, not quack quack.
Like duck.
Duct. Like duct tape. Duct tape is not duct tape.
It isn't?
No, you don't use it to
It's
tape
not
a duck's
duct
bill
tape.
shut.
I always thought it was duct tape.
Now, we don't have fat bodies.
The more you know.
We store fat as a layer of fat just beneath our skin. Frogs, however, store energy in these organs called fat bodies. They're these. Those are fat bodies. All of these orangish things, those are the fat bodies. As the frog eats lots of food throughout the spring and summer, it has extra energy available. So it puts that energy into forming these fat bodies. They're like waxy and fatty. They're orangish or yellow. If your frog was doing well and had a great diet, ate a lot of food, it will have a lot of fat bodies. If it didn't, it may have not a lot of fat bodies in it. It just depends. But their job is to store energy because, as we know, frogs hibernate. And they need a lot of energy to get them through the winter when they're not eating. Two last organs. The tympanum. Does anyone in band or orchestra and play symphony? You know what it is?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
It's two different drums that are like two different sounds.
Yeah, it's a drum, right? The tympanum is the eardrum of the frog. And frogs don't have eardrums inside their skull like we do. You have an eardrum inside of your ear. Their eardrum is external. It's this little area just behind the eye, the circular patch. That's the tympanum. And then last, the adrenal glands. What do they produce? Adrenaline. Where would you find them?
Inside the body.
Where?
Somewhere.
The liver.
They're little hats on top of the kidneys.
Oh.
Remember? You're not going to see them on the frog. We'll finish up this tomorrow. Those are the organs you're going to see. Yeah, but I have a few things I'm going to show you.